AFTV, Kenny Ken, we always want to win the North London derby, but do we have to give a team though credit because 2-0 down, and you could look across at the Spurs fans. They thought this was the day when they're going to come and take all 3 points. A good fight back, although some sloppiness in this team.
Yeah, it's good, bad and ugly, Robbie. Let's be honest, right? A lot of people write off Spurs, but people like me and you didn't, because we know how good Spurs are. It's like they had some dodgy results against Newcastle, but North London derby, they're going to be 100% up for it. And they got
even when they're rubbish, they're good in this game, isn't they?
Another thing as well, they got the selection right as well. And we're architects of our downfall in the first half. And to be honest, Spurs should have been out of sight, should have been 4 or 5 up. It was that simple. Every time, like I said, one of the things we did really bad in the first half is that we didn't mark those spaces. All that time, me and you talked about work rate. The work rate was non-existent. There was like culpable players. The biggest culprit was Granit Xhaka, I'm afraid. Is that I said it after the Brighton game. What does Granit Xhaka bring us to the team after 3 years?
Well, you're hoping that he's going to bring a bit of experience, but he's the one who gives away the penalty. I mean, you're 1-0 down, you're still in the game, aren't you?
Yeah, but so we weren't really in the game because at the end of the day, Song had those shots, pot shots, and Sally Eriksson. And let's be honest, right? Our goalkeeper was at fault for the first goal. Yeah. Can't deny it. If you're in the middle of the goal,
you've got to tip it round.
You've got to tip it round or catch the ball. So that was controversial attack. But their first goal, who was marking the runners? You can blame Louise and Socrates, but what was your midfield doing? People were static. Torreira was awful in the first half. People were going to say that he had a good game, but one of the reasons why he's chasing the back is because he's out of position all the time. There is a reason why Guendouzi plays instead of Torreira. It's because Guendouzi is an intelligent player and he had his best game today. It was only him who looked like an Arsenal player in the first half and understood it as a derby. And, we got a goal before half time and that really got us back into it. We didn't deserve it, but second half I thought it was a fantastic response by all the players, even Xhaka, Torreira, and
as an old school fan, I know you've been going from back in the day. What do you make of the VAR thing? We get the goal, we're all celebrating, going mad,
I love VAR because simple reason.
Love it.
I love it. Simple reason is that football's got one that thinks that they're above every other sport. They think that they can just do as they please.
Well, what do you make of it though when it's like, because obviously I ain't seen it back yet, but somebody next to me said to me that a friend of theirs at home said it's less than an inch offside. Now back in the day, you used to give the advantage, didn't you, to the attacker, even if when the linesman was looking at it, he used to look down the line and say, all right, it's tight, I'm going to give the advantage to the attacker. But here, we're going to be chalking off so many goals, aren't we?
So it's all right. The fact of the matter is that cricket, 27 years have had like the third umpire, and then last 10 years they had DRS. Every sport is progressing. Why should football be any different? You're not a law unto yourself. The fact of the matter is, you've got managers moaning after matches about decisions go 50-50. They've got no excuses now. If your team loses, it's down to you now. You can't blame referees, and that's what VAR does. It takes away the blame game, and it puts it back on the managers and the players. But one thing I need to say before I go, I was happy with Ceballos and Pepe, but they're doing things I don't like, especially in the thing. Because towards the end, Pepe was doing certain things they didn't like, holding the ball too long, and then what he needs to realise in this football, especially and Ceballos as well in the second half as well, if you lose the ball, then what will happen is that teams attack as numbers. It's not like other countries where the emphasis on defence isn't that great. In English football, right, you make a mistake and you get killed, especially in this league. So I need to be very careful. One thing is, and one more thing I've got to say before I go as well, the team's very lopsided. We're still waiting for a lot of players to come back, fullbacks. But Unai Emery needs to get a midfielder, a one midfielder. The Granit Xhaka experience isn't working for me. And what do you do with Mesut? Couldn't even get on there, especially when we need creativity. What do you do with him?